and Christina Benton, and she's with another group that I've worked with for a long time, Anderson Economic Group, and another report we're going to be talking about. Go ahead and unmute there, Christina. There you go.
Hello.
Okay, I have a dashboard the audience can't see. So yeah, I read that report. In fact, that report is up on my website right now for folks to read. That'd be MITechNews.com. We are a car state, and it's shocking. I know the reason. A lot of it is because of the semiconductor shortage has just put this giant log jam on. And then when the things happening like the car rental agencies selling their fleets because they didn't think people were going to be using those cars and things like that. There's been lots of stuff that have contributed to it, but the numbers are startling. New car prices are up almost 10% from a year ago. But the used car prices, come on. It sounds like a little gouging going on there. What, 36% up from a year ago?
Correct. Yeah, it's actually 37% from a year ago. So somebody looking to buy a car, a used car now, will have to spend 37% more than a year ago.
Yeah. All right. So let's also introduce. I always assume that there are some folks out there may not be familiar with our guests, so they may not be familiar with Anderson Economic Group, even though I've known Patrick for 25 years. So, what does Anderson Economic Group do besides looking at car prices?
Yeah, Anderson Economic Group is an economic consulting firm, and we are based in East Lansing, Michigan. We do have an office in Chicago. And we do specialize in economic analysis, public policy, market and industry analysis. And the automotive industry is one of our specialty group areas of expertise, actually.
Yep. Does everything, including tracks cannabis sales nationwide. There's 19 states now where cannabis is adult legal. Another 7 or 8 are probably going to go adult legal this year. And I know I get that report as well because one of our other products, we cover the cannabis business industry. So
definitely, yeah.
All right, let's break down these numbers a bit more on the reasoning. I just quickly touched on some of the reasons why new and used car prices are out of sight. Why don't you go ahead and cover those in more detail?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So for our analysis, we looked at Bureau of Labor Statistics data. So we looked at the Consumer Price Index. So this is something where the government looks at the average price of a variety of goods and services. And we can see that over time, it's something that's being reported. But for this particular analysis, we looked at the price of vehicles, new vehicles and used vehicles. And what we found was really extraordinary. The price of new vehicles in December 2021 was 12% higher than a year ago. So that means that the person that wanted to buy a new car, would be required to spend 12% more than a year ago. This is a lot, right? But for used cars, it's even higher. So for used cars, the CPI or the Consumer Price Index was 37% higher than a year ago. If you can imagine that, just trying to find a car, it's really shocking. I think when people go to the dealership or to another place to buy a used car or new car, they have a shock. It's really an extraordinary increase, and that's what we have seen in the last year.
Yeah, it is insane actually, and I must admit I'm not driving around as much as I once was, but here in Ann Arbor, we have a whole strip where there's just used car dealer after car dealer. And typically I get up that way. I haven't been up there in a while. But I'm told that if you go to these lots, there's hardly any vehicles around, right? And there is no haggling. You take their price or hit the road, right?
Yeah, the demand for cars has been pretty steady. Some would say strong demand. People wanted to buy a car, whether it's a used car or a new car, and they go to the dealership lot, and many times you don't see a full dealership lot. You see a few cars up front, but it's empty, which is shocking to see that. So what happens there? there is a unique condition for the automotive industry where they had parts shortages last year. Probably everybody heard about the semiconductor shortage that really plagued the industry. They didn't have enough computer chips to put them in their cars, so they can't build enough cars. So production took a hit last year. They produced fewer cars than they would typically produce. So it was actually lower than even 2020 production. So less production, fewer cars sent to the dealership lots, and with this good demand for cars, dealers sold everything that they had. So inventories were very low. One metric that we looked at showed that there were only 40,000 cars available for sale in November 2021, compared to over 400,000 cars a year ago. So it's just low inventories. So it's a very extraordinary situation for the industry.
And for the dealers, they're making a handsome profit, I imagine, too, right? Of course, they're having difficulties getting cars to sell. And what I'm hearing is they've laid off a lot of their salespeople because they just don't have the volume to sell, right?
Definitely, they want more cars. We heard that from many of our clients. They want to get more cars, especially the vehicles that are in high demand right now. People want to buy them. And many times you don't have a choice, what type of trim level or package you wanna get. You might not be able to get the right color or some of the features that you want because there are not enough vehicles to choose from. And of course, there are some incentives on the market, but they are not the same type of incentives we saw in the past. There is this demand, yeah.
What I'm hearing and reading is the advice is if you don't need to buy a car now, wait at least 6 more months and you think things will level off. Do you agree with that?
I think that the production is improving. From what we have seen, they have been starting to increase production again. We saw that even with General Motors right here in Michigan and even the Lansing area, where they've been restarting production. The numbers are going up. However, I think that the computer chip shortage will still be an issue in 2022. It's not going to be solved quickly. There's still a lot of demand out there for computer chips, and the capacity, the production is not where it should be. So I think it will still continue for a while to impact the production, but the numbers are going up, so that's good. But the prices of vehicles are high, so you want to look at whether you absolutely need a car. And that's unfortunate to see with some of the folks or lower income folks that need a car. If the car breaks down, if you want to go to work and you rely on a car to do that, they're in a tough spot right now.
And of course, the inflation rate is as high as it's been in 40 years, somewhere in the vicinity of 7%. And how much of that is just these car prices? What is that contributing to the overall inflation rate?
It does impact that, but it will be other things, whether it's healthcare, housing costs, fuel costs. The price of gas also increased in the last few months. So there'll be a few things that are up. We see that in the price of food as well.
Yeah, that's the other market that's insane is housing. I'm hearing stories all over the country that when a house goes on the market, you get this bidding war going. And I've heard in some big metropolitan areas, $100,000 over the asking price in order to get it. I mean, this is crazy, right?
Yeah, it's happening here in Michigan. I wouldn't say that, that's the amount, but definitely the demand is higher than the supply, what's on the market. And the housing starts are sometimes insufficient for some of the areas see a lot of growth. They see a lot of people moving in the area. They want to find a place to live, and that's where those bidding wars start.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other final points you want to make, Christina?
Just wanted to point out that part of our analysis, we also looked at average weekly earnings for workers. So looking at the private jobs in the US, and wanted to see whether that's keeping up with the price of vehicles. And what we saw is in the same time, while earnings have increased, wages increased in 2021, they have not really kept the pace to the price of vehicles. And when we compare the actual price of a new car with the average weekly earnings, if we do just a simple math it's a simple metric that's pretty good to look at, we see that workers will need to save an additional 3 weeks worth of earnings just to be able to purchase a new car now compared to a year ago. If we're looking at used cars, just looking at what the price of a used car is now compared to, again, a year ago, and looking at the earnings of a average worker, of course, we see that folks need to save or spend an additional 5 weeks worth of wages to buy a used car. And that's another shocking finding to see where the numbers line up, looking at prices and wages.
Yeah, well, let's keep our fingers crossed that much of this is because of the pandemic hitting the economy in so many different ways. But let's hope that, it's been going on for 2 years, and I know everybody's pretty worn out by the pandemic, but let's hope that things change by the end of the year. I mean, are you optimistic that'll happen?
We will definitely see improvements. Looking at the for cars, the auto production will improve. Dealers will get more vehicles. That will ease. Inventories will increase, and that will definitely help with the vehicle prices.
All right, great. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, your report is on my website, MITechNews.com. But if people want to get on your mailing list or reach out to you or whatever, reach out to AEG, how do they do that?
Yeah, so they can check out this research and any other research we have on our website at andersoneconomicgroup.com. So that's a good resource for our research and our expertise. People can also reach out to me directly at cbenton at andersoneconomicgroup.com. We do have a newsletter that specifically for the automotive industry that we can add them to that list.
All right.